Hello everyone. Oh boy. I was not ready.
Congratulations
Oh.
on graduating from a Dave.
Rage, thank you.
Though that is basically just getting a participation trophy.
That is a very fluffy boy. Looks like a Shiba Inu, except 100 times worse. Alright, let's put the logo back in, and we should be good. There we are. Everything's good to go. Huzzah! Huh. How's your day going, guys? How was your day? I was not prepared for all this nonsense. There's just too much stuff going on, man. Just too much. Too much. Alright, let me make a cup of water. I'm not going to make a cup. Pour a cup of water. And pour in a little bit of berry flavoring. Berry blast. Alright. And there we go. We're getting severe thunderstorm warnings today. So looks like rain. Don't know how long that's going to continue. And Rage, thank you for the 7 months. Appreciate it. Oh, the Rage Cage. I know it's Rage Kage, but I just like Rage Cage. Alright. Get a few pistachios. Okay, that's way more than a few. Alright. I think we're just about set up and ready to go. Wow, we're only 2 subscribers away from $100 a month. That's pretty dope. I think it has to be 20. So right now, I think we're 90 in total, somewhere around there. It is what it is. I just looked up at our subscribers and I did the math and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Not pushing for it, just thought it was neat. That's all. All right. So, hello, everybody. Not that this book is bad or anything. I just was not ready to get to reading this one. Because I think we're going to go through Mushoku Tensei a little too quickly. When is the next volume of Mushoku Tensei? I'll have to look that up later. Oh, that's right. That's right. I think it's in November, but I think we're going to get it in October digitally because they typically come out a month early. But by the time we get to volume 18 and get finished, yeah, we're on volume 16. By the time we finish 18, 19 should be out. But by the time we finish 19, I think we'll be done. So I may take it easy. I may just do like 1 chapter for 19 per stream or something. I don't know. Or we may just go through it really quickly. I don't know. When we get there, this is volume 16. 10 past the anime, 6 past the manga. Oh, yeah. We are traveling at warp speed. As far as slime is going, we might actually catch up to the manga pretty soon. They're at what I would consider the beginning of volume 8. That's where they are in the manga. Man, I've been on an Ace of Diamond kick lately. I finally got to a really cool part, watching somebody react to it, and they got to a really, really cool part in the series. And it made me want to check out the series again from that point onward. So that's what I did. And so, yeah. Watched a bunch of that, and then I started watching the Sandman, that series on Netflix that just came out. It was really good. I liked it. I've really enjoyed it so far. I think I'm like 7 episodes in. Totally loving it. Alrighty. That having been said, let's go ahead and get started with volume 16. Last we left off, Rudy had made his pact with Orsted. Wow. Orsted had given him a summoning slip, and then Rudy handed Orsted the diary, and Orsted got to reading, and then he and Eris left to go back home. That is where we left off last time. If you haven't checked out that episode, please go check it out. Pretty good read, I think. And I think you'll enjoy it. We're only going to do 3 chapters this time. This is a very short chapter book. It's only 9 chapters and a special chapter, so we're only going to do 3. That way I can manage this better. And yeah, we'll see what we got going on from there. And of course, guys, if you want me to exercise, go ahead and post those down, and I will do my exercises at the very end, but I will try and cut them off for YouTube. So YouTube, you don't have to sit there and watch a fat old dude exercise for no good reason. So if you want to see those things, you need to come by and check out the live shows Saturdays at 4 p.m. Central Time. There we go. And we've already got some crunches redeemed. Look at that. All right, that having been said, I'm going to, from hither point onward, ignore all your chat discussions until I get to the end of the first chapter. So at the end of each chapter, I will sit down and chat with you about the chapter, go over some of your comments, things like that. So if you have thoughts about the chapter that we're reading, if you want to put your thoughts out there while we're reading a certain part, let me know. Also, guys, this is live. I'm going to screw up a lot. And it is what it is. I am going to try to act the crap out of this, but I'm not going to words very well. You don't hear that stuff typically in a recording. So you get the live, unedited, blooper-free version. Even, yes, you on YouTube. I only cut out the end, at the beginning and the end with all the music and stuff, and then like the exercises. It's typically all I cut out. So you get the full thing. Because honestly, if I didn't do it this way, it would feel like I'm just, like, what's the point of you even getting the book if I'm sitting here reading it for you? It just feels wrong. But that having been said, I'm going to put my reading hat on. That way I'm not blinding everybody. Yeah. Blinded by the light from this white boy who doesn't get enough sun. With that having been said, guys, let's go ahead and get started. Cheer, don't jeer. People wish for a king they can cheer for. Author, Rudius Greyrat. Translation, John R.F. Maggot. Chapter 1, The First Mission. Let me briefly summarize everything that's happened so far. After discovering the man-god had been deceiving me this entire time, I hit rock bottom. A series of events followed, culminating in a face-off between me and Orsted, which ultimately resulted in me becoming his subordinate. That's right. I found myself an employer. Jesus, that rain's coming down hard and heavy. As if that weren't shocking enough, I also reunited with Eris and married her. It's like the warm rays of spring, sunlight are pouring over me, as if my life has hit its peak. I'm going to redo that sentence. I messed that up so badly with just pausing there in the middle. It's like the warm rays of spring sunlight are pouring over me, as if my life has hit its peak. Spring was the season of new beginnings, and with my marriage to Eris, I was bursting with renewed vigor. It might be summer right now, but it was still spring in my heart of hearts. I was floating on cloud 9 as I headed to work, my workplace being where Orsted currently resided. This time I was alone, as a man is supposed to be when he commutes. To be fair, it was pretty normal in our household for the women to work too, so there was nothing wrong with bringing someone along. But Orsted's curse meant they'd just feel hostile toward him. So it was best for me to make the trip by myself. As I arrived at the cottage, I spotted someone collapsed on the ground. Who in the world would kill over here? Ah! Zenoba! It's Zenoba! He's dead! He was slumped over a 3-meter tall hunk of metal lying on his back. This can't be happening. I raced over to him and clapped my hands over his shoulders, shaking him. Come on, this can't be real. Zenoba, speak up to me! Or no, not speak up. Jesus. Speak to me! There was a pulse. His pupils were moving, and he was breathing. His body was still warm, too. Okay, yes, he was definitely still alive. Guess I jumped to the wrong conclusion. He's not dead. He was only sleeping. He had me scared to death. Scared enough that I'd almost shouted, Jesus! At the top of my lungs. Anyway, what was he doing sleeping here? He was royalty. Shouldn't he be in a nice soft bed or something? He's too old to be slumming it out here. As I breathed a sigh of relief, the door to the cottage cracked open and Orsted stepped out. Rudius, so you've arrived. Oh, yes, I have. He stared at us. Last night, Zenoba Sharon carried that thing here. What thing? That armor you used earlier in battle. He gazed at the lump of metal Zenoba was leaning against. Upon closer inspection, I realized it was indeed my magic armor. I hadn't recognized it because it was in pieces. Come to think of it, I'd mentioned that it was destroyed in battle and that I'd left it behind, as well as needing to go retrieve it soon. And you two happen to run into each other in the process, and you fought? I asked. Indeed. Zenoba had probably never dreamed Orsted would be here, of all places. I should have told him earlier, but just hadn't had the chance. It didn't look like he had any real injuries, at least. Orsted must have gone easy on him. At the end of our battle, he swore he wouldn't let me get my hands on this armor. Said he had to make sure to deliver it to you. That's why he crawled the rest of the way to it. He certainly has taken a liking to you. Oh, Zenoba! I immediately leaned over him and used my healing magic. Since he had no external injuries, it wasn't much good, but I wanted him to sleep peacefully at least. Actually, now that I think about it, Orsted just left him out here in the open after he collapsed? Maybe he's more merciless than I gave him credit for. So he will wake up eventually, right? I put him to sleep using hypnosis magic passed down through the Nuka tribe. He should awaken in a few hours. Ah, so that's what he used on Zenoba. I wonder exactly what kind of magic that is. Very intriguing. Could this hypnosis magic also allow the user to manipulate a person's actions? Like, if I used it on Sylphie and commanded her to lift up her skirt, would she do it? I don't need hypnosis magic for that, though she'd do it if I asked. In fact, if that was what I wanted, I needed to get her a skirt. A mini skirt would be best. One of those frilly, fairy-like ones would suit her best, surely. Besides, if hypnosis magic was that powerful, Orsted would probably be using it a lot more. Putting someone to sleep was probably the extent of its usefulness. Come inside. Let's resume our discussions from yesterday, said Orsted as he disappeared into the back into the cottage. I slipped off my jacket and draped it over Zenoba. Then I used my magic to conjure an earthen roof to protect him before following after Orsted. Once I was finished here, I would collect Zenoba and take him back to Ginger. Allow me to cut to the chase, said Orsted as we settled in our seats. He took my diary from his pocket and slapped it down on the table between us. Quite a fascinating read. I have some interest in this magic regarding time travel that your future self spoke of, but since we lack the information to duplicate it ourselves, we'll leave that aside for now. All right. There were a number of things that caught my interest. But before we discuss the contents of this journal, I would like to know what you and the man god have spoken about in the past. Tell me everything, spare no details. Yes, of course. I recounted everything I could remember. Our first encounter happened immediately after the displacement incident. After that, I saw him again in Rikarisu City, then in Windport, Eastport, and then right after Orsted nearly killed me. Following that, I saw him again when I enrolled in the Magic Academy. Then right before I went to Begarit, then immediately before my future self came to visit, and again immediately after. We also met while I was preparing to to face off with Orsted, 10 times in total. I gave Orsted as much detail as I could remember from each conversation, including what the man god commanded me to do and how his instructions played out. After the displacement incident, he told me to rely on Regerd. I became an adventurer as a result. In Rikarisu City, he instructed me to take on a request to search for someone's lost pet. That led me to becoming acquainted with Jalil and Viskel, and ended with us being driven from the city. In Windport, he told me to carry some food and traverse the back alleys. That was how I found the great empress of the demon world and received one of her demon eyes. In Eastport, he showed me a premonition and ordered me to go to Sharon. There, I met Zenoba and saved Aisha and Lilia. He gave me no real advice following the... Okay, look. This is just... There we go. Following the incident where Orsted nearly killed me. However, he told me to enroll in the academy and look into the displacement incident. Thanks to that, I was reunited with Sylphie and the two of us got married. The man god had warned me not to go to Begarit. I ignored him, which led to Paul's death and Zenith becoming a mostly empty husk. But at least it wasn't all negative. I did get married to Roxy as a result, though the man god claimed that Paul would have lived if I hadn't gone. The man god spoke with me again prior to my future self coming to visit and told me to check my basement. The moment I got out of my chair to follow his advice, my future self appeared and told me everything that was about to happen. And, as he warned, there was indeed a rat down there. After I dealt with all that, the man god reappeared, displeased. That was when he told me to kill Orsted. With no other option to protect my family, I obeyed and began to prepare for our battle. It was during that process that he visited again to give me all sorts of advice. It was thanks to him that we'd managed to finish the magic armor this quickly. Orsted listened quietly as I spoke. He didn't even bother grunting or nodding, nor did he voice any questions. He stayed completely silent until I was finished. "That's all," I said. "Did you get anything from all of that?" "Yes, I now understand exactly how he was using you." "Oh, seriously? Well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. This is Orsted I'm talking to." "He used you to change the course of history," said Orsted. "History, you say?" "Yes. Ordinarily, the hand of fate is so strong that certain things should be immutable, but he found a way to circumvent that, using you." "Because my own fate is so strong?" "Precisely." "Wow, so my destiny is so powerful that it can change the course of history? But, Sir Orsted, surely you could do the same thing if you wanted to." "I could," he nodded, slapping the top of the journal. "But I fail to see his goal in altering history this much." "Isn't it to avoid being killed?" I asked. "Don't take his words at face value." "Ah, right. I guess there is a possibility he was lying about all that." "At any rate, there is one thing I do know for certain," said Orsted. "What's that?" "Whatever lies at the end of this altered course of history is something that stands to benefit him." "Makes sense." After a brief pause, Orsted continued. "In order to direct the future toward a course more beneficial to me, you will alter its current trajectory." "Wait, he wants me to alter, not correct it, huh? Guess that makes sense. Strictly speaking, it's not history yet, since it technically hasn't happened. History is whatever you make it, being in the past." You're being awfully roundabout," I said. "I am already laying plans for 100 years into the future. Everything that has happened so far, and that will happen from here, is all groundwork. But thanks to you and Nanahoshi, much of it has gone off track. 100 years into the future? Well, I guess he's been setting things up for a while, so he can't really change his plans now. Just to clarify, the two of us can't just go wherever the man god is and kick his butt, I guess? Orsted shook his hand. Until we have collected the hidden treasures, we won't be able to reach the place he's in. And I'm guessing we can't just gather them up real quick? 4 are easy to obtain, but Lapis holds the final piece. He won't revive for another 80 years. I will be the one gathering these treasures. You had best not act on your own, understood? Act on my own? I had no idea where these treasures were located to begin with. My diary did mention that they were held by the 5 dragon generals, but I only knew the whereabouts of one. Perugius. Wait a sec. Chaos. The maniacal dragon king is dead, right? Isn't that a bit of a problem? I heard that Lord Chaos passed away. How are you going to deal with that? I have already acquired the treasure he held. Oh, okay, so he's already dealt with that. But hold up, I said. With it, the man god has already foreseen that I'll try to change the future. I mean, what if I'll just be digging our graves by taking action, or mine at the very least? No. In addition to his powers of foresight, I believe it's also highly likely he has a special trait that makes all the living creatures of this world trust him unconditionally. That has left him ill-equipped to deal with irregularities. Huh. I never realized. I guess you could say the man god has a curse of his own. Hold on. Saying people trusted him unconditionally was a stretch. I never trusted him for one. But then again, Orsted's curse doesn't work on me. Maybe that means the man god's curse doesn't either. It did feel like he had a hard time trying to deal with me and my constant skepticism, although I did end up trusting him in the end. Perhaps his curse wasn't entirely ineffective after all. And who knows, my resistance to Orsted's curse might wear off eventually and I'd start fearing him too. No, there's no guarantee Orsted's information is reliable. His assumptions about the nature of the man god's curse might not be entirely correct. As soon as I started contemplating that possibility, I started doubting everything. Best to just drop this whole thing, I decided. I'm not good at the whole guessing what my opponent has planned thing, I said. Do you really think we can win this? I do, he said confidently. Our enemy isn't invincible. I am only one step away from ending him. It sounded like he was reassuring himself instead of me. Either way, he was intent on winning. He was determined to claim victory in the end, even if we were the underdogs along the way. That part I did find promising. So, we will change the course of the near future, said Orsted. The near future? Yes. He paused before continuing. We will make second Princess Ariel Anamoy Asura the king of the Asura kingdom. Okay. So we were going to throw our weight behind her then. Awesome. I'd actually been thinking about how I wanted to help her out. If this was my first mission, it was a welcome one. I made a good call taking a job at this company. Depending on the circumstances, I can use her as a puppet. I blinked. A puppet? Well, that certainly sounded a bit ominous. Rather than backing her, it seemed like we'd be pulling her strings. Yep, definitely more than a bit ominous. Guess the company I signed up for is actually super shady. I have to wonder if someone like Princess Ariel would really be so easily manipulated, I murmured. I say puppet, but I won't do something as extreme as manipulating her. As long as we can establish ties to the Asura kingdom in the future, that will be enough. All right, then. And here we are. There's the conversation we're having. He was probably thinking 100 years into the future. Each small step we took would add up, altering the course of history in the process. As a result, the world would be very different in another century. For instance, we could persuade the princess to focus more on magical research or strengthening the military. We could even lay the groundwork necessary to erode the entire kingdom if we wanted. Are you sure it's okay to do that? I asked, disturbed by my last thought. Of course. The history as I know it had Ariel as king to begin with. Oh, I would love to hear more about this history if you don't mind. Very well, he nodded. Originally, Ariel Anamoy Asura was to become king. Her course was protected by a strong destiny, as if it were predetermined. A bit difficult for me to believe that, seeing the way she is now, I said. I am sure that's true. Ariel's position had only worsened lately. From where I was standing, it seemed very likely that she would completely strike out with Perugius. That was why Sylphie was constantly busy running here, there, and everywhere. They were trying their best, but it was an uphill battle. In order for her to become king, Ariel requires the backing of 3 people, Orsted explained. The first among them is the guardian mage Derek Redbat. As I recalled, that was the name of the man who'd served as Ariel's bodyguard before Sylphie. I was pretty sure he'd passed away during the displacement incident. Derek was highly intelligent and ambitious, too. Even without the displacement incident, Ariel was destined to someday meet Perugius. And it was Derek who convinced Perugius to join her side. So basically, if Derek were alive, she wouldn't be in the terrible position she is now. Derek continued to counsel her after that, eventually leading to him taking up the position of Prime Minister. Prime Minister, huh? Well, now that is a pretty important position. I shook my head. And you're saying the displacement incident claimed the life of someone so pivotal? Indeed. He was supposed to be protected by his own strong destiny, but he died. Which meant that one's destiny wasn't absolute. I supposedly had fate on my side, protecting me from death as well, but if Derek's bloody end was any indication, I'd better not let it go to my head. So what you're trying to say is we have to find someone to replace him, right? I asked. No. If we are to make her our puppet, a prime minister would only get in our way. We don't need that. Are you sure she'll be able to run the country without one? Coming to the magic city of Sharia helped her grow and change as a person. It won't be an issue. If you say so. I was afraid he'd come back to bite us in the butt if we played too fast and loose. At least he wasn't telling me to take over and become the prime minister. I was no brainiac like Derek. The other key person is Eris Boreas Greyrat. Eris? My eyes widened. What did she have to do with any of this? Sure, she was part of the Osseran nobility, but she had no connection to Ariel as far as I knew. Originally, the Osseran Guard selected her for her skill with the sword. She joined their ranks, which was how she met Luke. The two were supposed to marry. Something twinged in my chest. I can't really picture the two of them marrying, I mumbled. It was love at first sight for him. Seriously? What was Luke supposed to be, the descendant of some hero or something? Although I could totally see him falling for Eris. She had a beautiful face and huge breast. I couldn't fault anyone for being deceived by her appearance. Orsted continued. No matter how many times she punched him, he continued to pursue her, and that softened her heart. After the two married, they were extremely affectionate with one another. An affectionate couple, huh? Well, it is true that once you wiggle into your way into her heart, she does start to show her cuter side. But this whole conversation made me feel like I got cuckolded somehow. That does it. When I get back home, I'll have to sneak up on Eris from behind and grope her. I'm sure she'll punch me for it, but that's a price I'm willing to pay. If it means getting to touch her chest, I'm fine with her being her punching bag. You could fucking just ask. Well, it's a tale I'm sure you find no humor in, said Orsted. To be honest, no, I don't. Very well, I'll keep my summary brief then. I couldn't care less about how history might have played out differently. In this timeline, Luke and Eris weren't together. I'm the only one our fair lady deigns to bestow her affection on. Lady Eris belongs to me and me alone. The Eris Boreas Greyrat I knew was a skilled swordsman. though less so than her current self. But she still eventually reached the rank of saint. Despite her beautiful appearance and impressive status, her fiery personality earned her the epitaph Red Lion. Red Lion, huh? Long time ago, people had likened her to a wild ape. A lion was a huge step up in comparison. Currently, she was known as the Mad Dog. Guess she's still a beast in the end. Eris and Luke worked together to shield Ariel from assassination numerous times, protecting her on her path to kinghood. In other words, Sylphie's assumed the role that was originally supposed to be Eris's. Correct. What happened to Sylphie in this alternate timeline? While I knew I likely had nothing to do with the main topic, it had nothing to do with the main topic, I couldn't help but ask. Sylphiette became Roxy McGurdy's apprentice and later went on to become an adventurer. People tended to hate her for her green hair, but in the end, she conquered several notable labyrinths and made a name for herself as one of the world's foremost dungeon explorers. Wow. Impressive, Sylphie. I would expect no less from my wife. I'd have to give her a good tonguing once I got home. And who did she end up hooking up with? I am not having this conversation with you simply to satisfy your curiosity. Orsted grumbled. Oops, sorry about that. My shoulders slumped. Orsted sighed before continuing, clearly exasperated. As far as I know, neither Sylphiette nor Roxy McGurdy married anyone. They lived out the entirety of their lives as single women. Interesting. Thank you for telling me. Huh. So that's how things went. Roxy and Sylphie never got with anyone else. Guess that means the two of them really do belong to me and me alone. That really warms my heart. Especially after hearing about how Eris married Luke. Guess this is what they mean when they talk about a guy being possessive. Those two girls are mine. I won't let anyone else have them. Would you like to hear about the rest of your family as well? No, let's return to the topic, I said. As much as I wanted to ask, the timeline he spoke of was one in which I never existed. Knowing what happened there would change nothing about the present. It was better to stick to necessary information. I'd heard enough to sate my curiosity. Okay, so since Sylphie has taken over Eris's position, there's no problem there, right? Indeed. The fact that Ariel is still alive is proof of that. Although having Eris by her side also meant that Ariel had the support of Philip Boreas Greyrat and Soros Boreas Greyrat. They were also casualties of the displacement incident. Their absence made our situation even more dire. Okay, but you said there were 3 people. Who's the last one? Tristina Purplehorse. Tristina Purple... What? That certainly wasn't a name I'd heard before. She is the daughter of high-ranking nobility, the House of Purplehorse. She was kidnapped when she was 8. High Minister Darius Silvaganius has been keeping her as his sex slave. That name rang a bell. If I remembered right, he was enjoying increased support and momentum in the kingdom right now. I was sure he was throwing his weight behind the first prince. But an 8-year-old sex slave, huh? What a creep. Tristina was going to be secretly disposed of, but fortunately, Ariel happened to save her. Even with his status, Darius could not escape reproach for having confined a daughter of the Purple Horse House for years. He lost his position as a result of the scandal, which also marked the downfall of First Prince Grable. So the first prince's name is Grable. Okay, got it. Okay, I said. So where is this Tristina person in this timeline? Missing. And you're sure she's not dead? I am not. Darius has a habit of immediately scouring everything around here whenever an incident occurs. That includes disposing of slaves, so there's a high probability she's already dead. In that case, I guess we're better off assuming she's no longer among us. Well, the one who trains and oversees these slaves for Darius typically sells off any that are marked for disposal in order to profit from them. Assuming the same happened to Tristina, she is likely still a slave, just with a new master. Or perhaps if she's still young enough, she's learned enough skills to become a thief on the streets. Orsted patted my journal on the table. This female thief named Triss, who was mentioned in your journal, comes to mind. Triss? That's right, there is a female thief who helped my future self sneak into the Asura kingdom. There weren't very many details about her, though. Yeah, I said, but the name Triss isn't exactly rare in Asura. Asurans seem to have a preoccupation with names that had Riss in them, whether it was Eris or Triss. True, but as far as I know, there were no female thieves named Triss in that area. Plus, Tristina has a number of unique features that match up with the woman described in your diary. Ah, that makes sense. Since Orsted knew what the timeline was originally supposed to be, he naturally took note of someone out of place. He naturally took note when someone out of place appeared in my journal, and with a similar name to boot. Perhaps they really were the same person. But would someone named Tristina really shorten her name to Triss? I was getting Spirited Away vibes from this. Okay, so you're saying that as long as we get our hands on her, we can take down the High Minister? Yes, because she's a living witness to his crimes. In other words, if we were going to have any success in making Ariel king, we needed to find this Triss person. Why doesn't she just go back? I asked. The kidnapping was a cover story. In truth, her family sold her off. So even though her family purposefully sold her off, you still think the news that she was kept as a sex slave would make Darius lose his position? I do. As far as the public knows, she really was kidnapped. Besides, the truth is merely a pretense for taking Darius down. I get it. Darius had a number of enemies, and they didn't care about the details of his scandal. All they wanted was an excuse to get rid of him. As long as they could tell the public that he'd forcibly abducted a high-ranking aristocrat's daughter, that would be enough to strip him of his status. Ugh, this country is a huge pain in the butt, I groused. Agreed. However, it is precisely because such devious people reside there that Asura holds the most powerful in the world. It would be that way even if the land they lived on wasn't so plentiful. That made sense. In my estimation, those who quarreled amongst themselves like that tended to develop better negotiation skills, which benefited them when the need for diplomacy arose. But maybe my views were a bit biased. Regardless, he continued, we'll be able to remove High Minister Darius so long as we have Tristina. With him gone, we won't have any trouble with the rest of the opposition. Is he really that powerful of a figure? Orsted nodded. He is. There is no exaggeration to say that it is no exaggeration to say that the current king could not hold on to his throne without Darius. Wow. He's that important? I guess he's like a kingmaker, someone who gathers up gold and lays down all the groundwork. If Ariel somehow fails to have him removed from his current office, then it will... If Ariel somehow fails to have him removed from his current office, then it will be up to you to kill him. What? I gaped. You want me to do it? Yes, you have a strong destiny of your own. It should be a simple matter for you to dispose of him. Did my destiny really have anything to do with being able to kill someone or not? Come to think of it, the man god did say something about how I might be able to kill Orsted where others would have failed. After a long pause, I finally said, All right, I understand. I didn't like the idea of killing someone, but if it meant protecting the lives of my family, I would certainly do my best. My target was an evil minister anyway. Surely I could do away with someone like that. If my opponent was that insidious, basically like a Zaku Gundam, then he wasn't even human to begin with. But from everything I've heard, isn't there supposed to be a second prince in his group of followers? You sure we don't have to deal with him? You refer to second prince Halfast. He never had a chance of becoming king. He doesn't have it in him, and moreover, there are few who honestly think him capable of sitting on the throne. Aha! So Halfast is the name of the second prince. I have no idea what he looks like or what kind of person he is, but I assume he has to be at least somewhat capable to be considered a candidate for the throne. Seems better to be safe than sorry. You never know what might happen. There is nothing to worry about, Orsted assured me. Even if we fail, there is always next time. Next? Is it our next move? Ah, yes, that's exactly what I mean. I know what he's actually saying. I know what that little slip up was about. All right. And what will happen to Ariel if we fail? She will die, I am sure. Perhaps 2,000 years of life had desensitized him to failure. A plan that many years in the making would have its share of pitfalls. You couldn't always get what you wanted, and if he was playing the long game a whole century in advance, then it was probably inconsequential to him if there were a couple of missteps along the way. But still, let's not take chances. Speaking that flippantly will only bring a smile to the man-god's face. Orsted's cheeks colored with rage, which terrified me. I hastily continued. There may be other failures waiting for us if we don't commit ourselves now. Those failures add up. They might affect whether you're ultimately victorious or not. I didn't mind that he was more focused on winning than the path to getting there, but if Ariel died, there was a good chance Sylphie might get caught up in it too. I had also promised to introduce Ghislaine to Ariel. If those close to me suffered, I would too, and I certainly didn't want to suffer. Instead, we should plan each step carefully. Let's keep our guard up and make sure we're victorious every time we face off against him. That goes without saying, Orsted still scowled menacingly, but he nodded in agreement. Now, I said, with that out of the way, our first order of business will be to put Princess Ariel on the throne. You'll issue your orders and I'll carry them out. Does that sound good? Yes. It was like I'd earned myself a sponsor. Like I now had Sir Orsted of the renowned Dragon God Society backing me. The only downside was the work he forced on me, which was kind of a pain. All right, I said. Let's come up with a plan to deal with the second prince, Halfast, then. I can handle that myself. I need only overthrow the main nobles supporting him. Since he has no desire for the throne to begin with, that will be more than enough to dissuade him from fighting for it. A realization hit me as I listened to Orsted. From his point of view, it probably didn't matter who became king. Even if Halfast did somehow take the throne, he could simply have me infiltrate his inner circle. In about a month, word should arrive that the current king has fallen ill. There is something we need to do before then, said Orsted. What's that? I asked. His expression was grim, making it clear he wouldn't permit mistakes. Well, that's terrifying. He probably always looked like that when he was being serious, but that didn't make it any less intimidating. If looks could kill, I'd be on the floor right now. We need to bring Perugius Dola over to Ariel's side. His support will be critical if she is to take the throne. Despite how much anxiety his words caused, I sort of saw that coming. Derek Redbat had been destined to persuade Perugius to join Ariel, but he wasn't here. Perugius, however, was still a necessary asset. I would have to take on Derek's role and find some way to win him over. So basically I'll need to spend the next month getting closer to Ariel and Luke while also trying to talk Perugius into joining her. Is that right? Yes. All right, then. At least we'd made a concrete plan to address our current conundrum. We were going to change the present in hopes of altering the course of a future 100 years from now. To that end, we needed to make Ariel king. This should be good enough for our first strategy meeting. As I thought that, Orsted said, "Take this." He'd pulled something from his pocket, a scroll, and handed it to me. I unfurled it to discover that a magic circle had been drawn on it. What's this? A guardian beast summoning circle, he said. Oh! This was the very same thing he'd mentioned to me yesterday. I was impressed he'd kept his promise so soon after he'd made it. I figured it would take a while, since he would probably prioritize reading my journal first. Pour your mana into it and picture something in your mind that will protect your family. It can even be a word. That should be enough to beckon forth that which you require. That should be enough to beckon forth that which you require. Will a picture that vague really be enough? I asked. Your mana pool is enormous. You will gain a better partner this way than if you tried to specifically summon something. I wasn't entirely convinced, but if he said so, it was worth giving it a shot. I just hope I don't wind up summoning anything weird. You know, like a childlike girl whose title starts with demon and ends with empress. What you call forth depends entirely on you. That said, Kishirika Kishirisu possesses an enormous amount of power. A summoning circle this small would not be able to bring her to you. So the size is the only problem. Does that mean if we made a bigger summoning circle, I could theoretically call her here? Not that I actually wanted to do so. She was so obnoxious. At any rate, I said, I'll be sure to summon this guardian beast tomorrow. Very well. My heart was pounding with excitement. What kind of creature might I summon? A badass one, I hoped. With it standing beside me, I would look twice as awesome as I did now. Enough to make Sylphie and Roxy fall for me all over again. Oh, that's right. There's one more important matter I forgot to ask him about. That's right. Supposedly one of my descendants is going to help you in the future. Does that mean I should have a bunch of kids just to be on the safe side, or does that pose the potential danger of one of them later giving birth to Lapis? He stared at me silently before finally saying, None of your children will give birth to Lapis. Do as you like. Understood. I will do just that then. That means I'm free to pump out babies. Surely Orsted would be pleased to have a large number of companions as well. In that case, allow me to excuse myself. I need to see how this summoning circle you gave me works out. All right. I'll see you again in a few days. If anything happens in the meantime, please be sure to send a letter to my house again. As I started to get up, I remembered one more thing. By the way, my lord, did you already go visit Nanahoshi? No, not yet. I know it's not really my place to say this, but if you're bothered by her helping me lay a trap for you, I hope you'll have it in your heart to forgive her. I basically blackmailed her into complying. He said nothing, his lips thin, narrow, his thips, wow! Thips, Lynn? Wow. He said nothing, his lips a thin, narrow line. I didn't want them to have a falling out because of me. Nanahoshi was always against me fighting you, I continued. Oh, Nanahoshi was always against me fighting you, I continued. She said you had done a lot for her. Orsted kept silent. In fact, it seems she still feels guilty about agreeing to help me. If you can find it within you to forgive her, I hope you may arrange to meet her and give her the chance to apologize at least. Very well, I will do as you suggest. Nanahoshi is, for all her faults, a useful woman. That's right, she definitely is. Very useful. There is one other thing, said Orsted. While I am able to contact you at my leisure, it would be inconvenient if there was an emergency and you had no way to contact me. Take this with you. He slipped a ring out of his breast pocket and set it on the table. I had seen something like this before, very recently, in fact. I had seen something like this before, and very recently at that. In fact, this was a ring Nanahoshi had once possessed. The very one she'd used to lure Orsted into my trap. Should the need arise, use this to call for me. When in use, the ring would emit a magical power that allowed it to act like a lodestone, leading its partner ring to its location. If it were a magical implement, we might be able to turn it into something like a radar. But alas, it was incredibly difficult to replicate the effect of Jim's magic items. There were nearly no duplicates in existence. Orsted returning this to me spoke to Orsted returning this to me spoke to his confidence that he could put me down should I launch another secret attack on him. Or maybe it was proof that he trusted me not to try it again. I chose to believe the latter. Orsted surely had no desire to unleash his real power a second or third time, thereby depleting his precious mana once again. If he was trusting me with this, it was up to me not to disappoint him. All right, well, meet again later. I pocketed the ring and set off for home. Of course, I didn't forget to collect Zenoba as I left. Jesus Christ, that was 36 pages. It did feel long. That's chapter 1, gang. All right, give me a second. I have to go freaking mess with my nose real quick. Ugh. And then I will get to checking out everybody's comments. I also have to check on my laundry. There may be a bit of filth in the comments. Okay, well, that's certainly a thing. Okay. Okay. Screw it. This volume is... A lot of this volume is light novel only. Okay. I'm taking the jobless out of this reincarnation. Well, he was jobless in his Hataraku reincarnation. That reminds me, I have a lot of things to say about Hataraku Mao-sama tomorrow, because they got married at 16. Wait, 2? Married at 16. Collect him. At least he's not in pieces. Oh God. Sylphie doesn't wear skirts or dresses. The only time she really refused Rudius as a kid was when he asked her about wearing a skirt. The great 100-year plan. That's true. Super Shady? Not Slim Shady? Okay. Can't be the real... Can the real Slim Rudy please stand up? God dang it. Eris's type is a Notos gray rat with light brown hair and being intermediate in Sword God and beginner in Water God. But the one who fits that first wins. Okay. He immediately thinks of doing the same thing. Does he really like getting punched that much? So he really is a masochist. I think so. The only common fetish Rudius lacks is feet. Because Rudius's love of hands is shown when he holds Eris's hand. Let's face it, if it's a part of his wife's bodies, he's touching it. You're not. Also licking it. Yep. Purple horse. And poking it. You're not wrong. The silver-toed gray rat, purple horse, red bat, etc. All the Ossuran last names, but Ossur are color plus animals. Yeah, you're not wrong. Gold Diglett. They're all gold Diglets. Technically, Diglett isn't an anime, but... Or isn't an animal, but... it's an anime. Diglett's in an anime, but it's not an animal. Elfmore Blue Wolf is Ariel's attendant. Oh, okay, there you go, Blue Wolf. That actually sounds kind of cool. I think Silver Wolf probably would have been better. I mean, Black Wolf would have been pretty OP as well, but that just sounds... Black Wolf sounds just way too edgelord. I love how emo and edgelord, even though they're not the same thing, kind of go hand in hand with each other a lot of the time. They're like, oh my God, you're so emo, you're so edgelord. I think edgelord kind of... Either edgelord just developed out of emo, or emo just became edgelord at one point in time. Or maybe I'm just missing that. Are emo and edgelord different, or did... because there wasn't a word for emo at one point, and then emo became a thing, and then edgelord developed out of that, so I was just like... Did edgelord just take over for emo, or is emo still a thing? Because I never hear anybody say emo anymore. So, Fangs of the Black Wolf and the Black Wolf Sword King. Aren't there Diglets in Genshin? No, they're not technically Diglets. They're slimes, Dendro slimes. And then there's like weasels. Also, really quickly, the shoot. I lost my train of thought there, and I don't know. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of filth in the comments. Nowhere near. Like, I was prepared for some really based shit, and nope. Sorry, debased shit. So, yeah, man. Nowhere near that bad. All right. Dude, it took me almost an hour to read one chapter. That's crazy. Let's see how long this one is. 1, 2. Okay, that's just 15. That's not so bad. And one of those 15 was a picture. So, yeah, dude. So, what were your thoughts on this chapter? Let me know. Post in the chat. And if you're on YouTube, I'd love to see what you thought of this chapter in the comments. Skater punks? I don't know. I mean, punk is kind of a broad term. For those of you that know about Orsted's power, and why he seems to know everybody so much in their quote-unquote true history, that little almost slip-up of his, that was pretty cool, huh? It's really interesting. I like that we're doing a kind of a second read-through of all of this, because I'm catching stuff that I didn't catch the first time, because I now know more about what's going on than I did originally. Now, here's my question. I know that people say that the ending of Mushoku Tensei is good, but it's the epilogue that's terrible. Is that the web novel, or did he correct some of the stuff with the light novel? How are things going with that? I can see the future. On the web novel. So has he has the light novel ended, and did they do like the epilogue for the light novel? Okay. The light novel hasn't started on the redundancy yet. Okay. Maybe that's something he'll... It's redundancy, not the web novel. Okay. Web only, and now deleted. So it sounds like there was an idea that was put out online in the web novel, and it did not make it. Perhaps it will not make it, or it will get changed for the light novel. Okay. It was so messed up it got deleted. Okay. Gotcha. That reminds me, I did start reading a very poorly translated version of the web novel for Slime. Because I was super upset with where volume 14 ended. Yes, 14. I was super upset with how it ended and the cliffhanger. I was so mad. Wait, whoa. What? Saying I don't want to know. I'm not sure I want to know. Is this something that involves the nobles, or is this something that I don't know. I don't know. Wow. Wow. Okay. Now, there's also a rumor running around that Mushoku Tensei will get a sequel series that is going to deal with the story of Rudius's kids or his descendants, the ones that are going to work with Orsted. Oh, yeah, saying I really don't want to know. All I want to know is this: it didn't involve any of Rudius's family, right? Because, wow, that'd be uncomfortable. Dear God. Wow. Wish I hadn't read that sentence. But I'm very much looking forward to the next volume in November of Slime. But yeah. Say nothing. Okay, that does mean it involves great. Wonderful. Okay. Is this just rumor though? Can you guys confirm about the Rudius's descendants thing? Is that a rumor, or is that something that was actually talked about that is possibly happening? Like, is that just a rumor? Because from the sources that I remember, it was said the author of Mushoku Tensei, the writer for Mushoku Tensei, said he would like to do a follow-up series that is about Rudius's kids and Orsted and their fight against the man god. It's confirmed for a sequel, but the protag is up for grabs. Why? There's so many. Is this not going to do with... Okay, so is this or is this not going to deal with Rudius's family? I would like to see a continuation from the story where... But then again, I don't know how it's going to end. There are 3 potential protags. Are we talking about Rudius's kids? I already know that Lucy... Rudius has 6 kids that I know of. 2 from each of his wives. And I'm pretty sure that the one that is going to be working with Orsted the most is the one that is about to be born, Roxy's first kid. But I also know that because they are Rudius's kids, they also inherit the ability... Pardon me. Pardon me. The ability to avoid some of the curses, like Orsted's curse and the man god's, like, kind of... I wouldn't necessarily call it a curse, but, like, how when people talk to the man god, they automatically trust him. But I know that Lucy, as a kid, has met Orsted, and she does not seem concerned or affected by his curse, and in fact actually kind of plays with him. And like Uncle Orsted is just... I want more art, more fan art of Uncle Orsted, damn it. I hope we get there in the anime, because I really want to see a bunch of that. Like all 6 of the kids, like Orsted becomes like Uncle Orsted's daycare, and he will love those kids unconditionally because they treat him like a person and are not afraid of him, aren't trying to kill him. It's just like Uncle Orsted's got a grumpy face. It's kind of the thing. I love that. Go to our 6-faced world, but watch out for spoil. No, I will not. I will not go there, Saiyan Fang. Thank you so much for telling me a place that I should avoid. But I like the idea of Uncle Orsted and all the kids. Like, we need more fan art of that, because I love that Rudy's kids are not affected by Orsted's curse. That's such a cool little thing, and I'm glad that got added. All right. So, now that we are ready to... All right, now that we have had this conversation, I would like to continue on with Chapter 2. And it's going to be a bit quicker, so hopefully by 6 o'clock we'll be good. 6 o'clock my time. All right. Chapter 2, Guardian Beast. We had a month until Asura Kingdom sent word that its king had fallen ill. In that time, I had to work with Ariel to convince Perugius to join her side. To that end, I needed to pump Sylphie for all the details I could, but she probably had her guard up thanks to Orsted's curse, so I might not be able to persuade her to bring me into Ariel's plans. I was torn about whether to trust her and tell her the whole truth or give up fighting Orsted's curse and avoid mentioning him altogether. But first, I had another objective to complete. Namely, the very reason I'd agreed to work under Orsted to begin with, so I could protect my family. Now that I was a little errand boy, I'd be away from home more often. I needed someone or something to take my place. Thus, my first order of business was summoning this guardian beast. It was still morning when I gathered all the members of my household in the garden. That included Aisha, Lilia, and Zenith, who normally spent all their time inside, as well as Eris, who had newly joined the family. Roxy and Norn were present too, as were Dillo and Bite. Sylphie carried Lucy, who had just recently learned to stand while holding on to something. In a moment, I will be summoning the guardian beast that will serve our family. Feel free to clap. Yay! Applause rang from the crowd. The audience's fervor was hitting its peak. Tonight's concert would be legendary. Yeah, Saiyan Fang, that's okay, so long as you vet spoilers. Keep in mind, I've read up to volume 18, so that's as far as I go. I know about Lucy hanging out with Ordsted. That's as far as I've gotten. Or rather being introduced. I wouldn't say hanging out. That's not how that worked. Sorry, misphrasing. Hold up. Dillo and Bite? Why aren't the two of you clapping? This just won't do. What? They're pets, so they can't clap? Well, I suppose it can't be helped. What is with his weird train of thought? So just Lucy for now. Yeah. I would love to see what the other kids play. I don't think it's like major spoilers. You're just having the other kids playing with Orsted and Orsted just kind of like running kind of a gray rat daycare. I think it'd be hilarious. All right. As for exactly what I will be summoning, I'm afraid I don't know for sure. However, we can expect something particularly powerful, and this creature, whatever it is, will keep our family safe and secure. I forgot to put up the stream so I could ignore the chat. Oops. Are you sure this will be okay? That this thing won't eat us all when you're gone? Sylphie asked, worried. That's a terrifying thought. That said, I did recall reading a story that a long time ago, something about someone calling forth a beast they couldn't control and killing everyone. I get you're worried, but this was made by the meticulous hand of the dragon god, which is precisely why I'm worried. Logically speaking, Orsted would never use such a roundabout way to get rid of us. But Sylphie probably wasn't thinking straight thanks to his curse. But wait. Could this be his way of putting a leash on me in case I betray him? Like, if I turn my back on him, will he threaten me? With a snap of my fingers, that beast residing at your house will devour your entire family. That really didn't seem likely. In any case, I'm going to summon it now. If it seems dangerous, we'll get rid of it together, and then I can give Orsted an earful. Sounds good to me, Eris declared in excitement. She pulled a sword from its scabbard with a majestic clang. She had two at her hip. On the right was Eminence, a magic blade the sword god had gifted her. On her left was the one she'd grown attached to and used for a long time. Isn't it cumbersome carrying both at the same time? When that happens, all of us will be ready to fight Orsted together, she declared. We're not going to fight. We're just going to file a complaint like a normal, dissatisfied customer. If we try to take him down, we'd be the ones kicking the bucket instead. That said, she looked awfully happy. She wasn't just looking for an excuse to pick a fight with him, was she? We won't be fighting Orsted, I said. but we'll have plenty of chances to fight together in the future. I hope you'll save your strength until then. Her face sank as if the idea bored her. It was fine if she wanted to fight other people, but Orsted was off limits. Never in my life did I want to fight another battle that hopeless if I could help it. I'd pee myself if I had to do it a second time. Still, are you really sure this magic circle is safe? Perhaps it might be a good idea to have someone like Lord Perugius look at it first, said Roxy. Apparently, she was also leery of something Orsted had made. A curse on him really is powerful. As absurd as the whole curse nonsense seemed, the intensity of their reactions made its existence impossible to deny. That made my decision an easy one, though. I did decide to take a second look at the scroll before I used it. I wouldn't go so far as to have Perugius check it, but it couldn't hurt to examine it once more. It seemed like a normal summoning circle. The part that restricted the conditions of the summoning had some symbols I wasn't familiar with, but there was nothing too suspicious. As far as I could tell, perhaps I could have Nanahoshi take a look? No, that would be rude. Orsted only made this for me because I didn't know how to do it myself. What good did it do to be this distrustful? I'm sure it's fine, I said. Well, if you say so, I believe you. But wait just a second while I get my staff. Roxy, it seemed, was not entirely convinced. She said she trusted me, but still disappeared inside the house to retrieve her weapon in case things got ugly. I have no idea why everyone seems so on guard, but you're sure this isn't dangerous, big brother? Norn furrowed her brow. Aisha clapped a hand on Norn's shoulder. Don't be stupid. If it were that dangerous, he wouldn't activate it with us around. Her trust felt like a dagger to my heart. Honestly, I hadn't confirmed if this summoning circle was safe. Could I really just use it like this? Perhaps I should wait until I get Perugius to check it, just to be sure. But if I did, Aisha's affectionate gaze would turn to disappointment, and she'd only be suspicious of Orsted after that. Should the worst come to pass, I will act as a shield for everyone. Please do what you need, said Lilia. Well, that sounds ominous. I didn't think it would come to that, but everyone else was so jumpy that I was on edge. Were we really going to be okay? No, I need to have faith in Orsted. He said he trusted me. All right, then, I said. I'm going to use it. Everyone nodded. I let the scroll down on the table I'd erected on using my earth I set the scroll down on a table I'd erected using my earth magic. Here goes. I steeled myself and placed my hands on the circle. I concentrated, letting the magic flow through my veins and gather in my fingertips. From there, I poured it into the circle. I kept pumping more and more of my mana in. This creature was supposed to be something that could protect my family. Even if I drained myself dry, it still wouldn't be enough in my eyes. I'd gladly take every last bit of Orsted's mana, too, if I could. Let's see, wait. Yeah, I'd gladly take every last bit of Orsted's mana if I could. Using more mana didn't necessarily guarantee a strong guardian beast, but I would still give this everything I had. Orsted also said it was important to imagine what I wanted. Something to protect my family. That was awfully vague. I needed something incredibly powerful. Powerful enough that a normal opponent wouldn't stand a chance. Something that was incredibly loyal and would never oppose me. And since they were supposed to be protecting my family, preferably not something crude or indecent. I definitely didn't want some tentacle monster covered in mucus. That wouldn't be good for my little sisters or Lucy. The guardian beast was going to be Lucy's knight, so I needed something respectable. That's right. A creature of high moral character who's loyal and strong. Okay, order up. Let's go. Come on out, guardian beast. The circle began emitting a bright light. Not a pure white, but a mix of blue, red, yellow, and green. It was a whole rainbow. But I felt as if the summoning had caught on to something. As if there was something stopping it. What could it be? I ignored it and continued pouring in more mana. Whatever had been blocking the spell snapped. Ah! A voice groaned, though I couldn't tell where the sound came from. Was it the guardian beast that would now be protecting my family? It sounded rather ominous, as if the creature was in pain. I simply increased my mana output, yanking whatever it was through the summoning circle. Ah! A voice rang out as the mana flow I'd been feeding into the circle was abruptly cut off. There's Rudius! Smart as hell, but just keeps on bullheading his way through stuff without thinking. The light faded, and from within it appeared a man in yellow mask and a white uniform, a large dagger hanging by his side. He was perched atop the earthen platform I had created, down on one knee with his arms wrapped around himself. How could this be? How could my contract with Lord Perugius be destroyed like this? He remained in that pose as he lifted his head and looked around. The mask obscured his eyes, but I could swear he was staring straight at me. What's the meaning of this? The masked man demanded. No, it was wrong to call him that. I knew exactly who this was. Aramanfi the Bright. The way he's posed reminds me of a fallen angel. Not that I'm trying to make light of him. I swear I'd never be able to hold a candle to his brightness. He's way more lit than I am. Just kid. I asked you, Rudius Grey Rat, what your intention is here. He leapt from the table and tried to seize me by the collar, only to freeze midway through, his entire body trembling. Eris immediately moved into battle stance, but I held a hand up to stay her. Bad girl, go to your pen, Eris. That's literally what it says. Seriously, what was going on? I had summoned the bright and noble Aramanfi of all people. Was that even possible? Although despite his human form, he was actually a spirit. Perhaps this wasn't so surprising after all. Not that that explained everything. Was this all a ploy by Orsted? Was he trying to provoke Perugius to get him to kill me instead? Oh, come on. If you're going to go that far, then just do the job yourself. No, you see, this just kind of happened. I was activating a magic circle that Sir Orsted gave me, and it sort of summoned you here by accident. Orsted's magic circle, you say? What precisely were you trying to summon? A guardian beast to watch over my family. Aramanfi snatched up the scroll with the magic circle. He studied it before gaping. These are some bothersome stipulations he's placed on the summoned entity. What conditions are they? The one this circle summons must be absolutely obedient to you, and they are to defend your family against any calamities that might befall them in perpetuity. In other words, they are to serve your family for eternity. Wow. So this magic circle was basically a slave contract? Well, the good news is that Orsted didn't lie to me. Looks like he's trustworthy after all. Anything else, I asked? The summoner will be the one who determines precisely what is called forth. So basically, I could decide what guardian beast I received. Great. Then I'd like to make an exchange. An exchange? Yes, I didn't mean to summon you, Mr. Aramanfi, so I'd like to trade you out for someone else. Then hurry up and dissolve your contract with me. I am Lord Perugius' proud servant, not yours. Yeah, right. This is 100% Rudius' fault. It's not simply that he didn't read the fine print. It's the fact that, hey, something felt a little off. Ah, fuck it. I'm sure it's nothing. Like, just keeps on barreling right through. Dummy. Honestly, it wasn't a terrible idea having Aramanfi to protect our family. He moved at the speed of light, so if anything unforeseen happened, he'd be the perfect person to relay a message to me. Yeah, but Perugius values him too much. If I took him away, it might cause discord between us. I furrowed my brow. So how do I go about doing that exactly? Order me to return to Lord Perugius' side. Order me to return to Lord Perugius' side immediately. Dotbath of Destruction will be able to sever the contract. All right. Order me now. Due to absolute obedience clause, he needed a direct order from me to leave. Okay then, by the power of this summoning circle, I command you to go to Lord Perugius and request advice from his as to how best to call forth a good guardian beast. Aramanfi kept the magic circle in his hands as he disappeared in a flash of light. Sorry everyone, looks like I screwed up, I said as I glanced back at my family. They were all staring at me slack-jawed. Aramanfi returned after a while. He delivered a message from Lord Perugius before hissing about how he'd let this transgression slide, but it had better never happen again. Aramanfi was extremely proud of his status as Perugius' servant, after all. I did feel genuinely guilty about stealing that from him, however, temporarily. The circle that Orsted had drawn me apparently lost its power when the contract was annulled, so Perugius made me a new one. It was hard to believe he'd shown me such kindness after I so rudely swiped one of his servants. He really was as magnanimous as Siveril claimed. The truly terrifying part of the whole ordeal was the level of power Orsted's circle had commanded. Or maybe it was my own magic that was to blame? Perhaps both. Each was merely a spark on its own, but combined they made a raging flame. Since the previous summoning hadn't depleted much of my mana, I decided to collect myself and try again immediately. According to Perugius, it was better not to imagine vague concepts like majestic, omniscient, or omnipotent, but rather an animal. If that was all, I wish Orsted had simply said so, but knowing him, he'd probably have told me to keep Aramanfi as crazy as that idea sounded. Okay, let's try this again. I surveyed the area before putting my hands on the magic circle once more. This time I was going to keep a concrete image in my mind. I wanted a strong, proud animal, a lion. I had no idea if they existed here as I knew them, but the word existed in the language, so surely there was something similar. I wanted the king of beasts, the strongest creature this world had to offer. You know where this is going. I wanted the king of beasts, the strongest this world had to offer. You know. Although if I wanted something loyal, I might be better served by a canine rather than a feline. Nah, that doesn't matter. The magic circle requires absolute obedience, so I just need to focus on something that's strong. I want the most notable beast that exists in this world. You can see the stupid just forming over and over, right? You can see the train of thought here. He's like, I gotta put thought into this. Every thought is a turd. It's like, bro. Everybody just slaps their head. It's like, what are you doing? I focused all the magic I had in every corner of my body into my right hand. For a few moments, I squeezed my eyes shut, but as the last drops of mana left my body and poured into the circle, I snapped them open again. Come on, bring home the bacon! I sucked in a breath as the magic circle emitted a dazzling light. It was the same colorful rainbow I had seen earlier, but this time, I didn't experience the sensation of the spell snagging on something. My mana flowed smoothly into the circle, and whatever was on the other end heeded my call. In fact, it felt as though a hand was being extended toward me, and all I had to do was take it and pull. I was confident that I would be successful this time. All right, come on out, I hollered. A faint howl echoed through the air. Oh! It grew louder and louder, ringing in my ears. Is there something I should be saying right now as I'm summoning this thing? I guess it doesn't matter. As I debated that, the light disappeared. What stood before me was a white lion, over 2 meters tall. I assumed it was female since it had no mane. The way its snout extended, however, reminded me more of a dog than a cat. Wait, this is no lion. It's a dog, and judging by how short its legs are, it's a pup at that. In fact, upon closer inspection, I realized its fur wasn't white, but silver. It looked like a baby Shiba Inu, but far more massive. Did I botch it again? It's adorable! Aisha exclaimed. But do you really think this thing can protect us? Norn frowned. Well, said Sylphie, for a pup it does look confident. Roxy nodded. At the very least, it looks too innocent for anyone to suspect it's a guardian beast. The two of them seemed approving enough. It does look intelligent, Lilia commented. She had a perfect poker face, so it was hard to tell what she was thinking, but she wasn't knitting her brows, or frowning at least. Zenith was expressionless as ever. I had no idea what Bite thought of our newest addition, but Dillo was already on his back, expressing submission toward our guardian beast. Not too bad as far as first impressions went, although I'm pretty sure I've seen this pup before. Hold on, said Eris. Isn't this the sacred beast that was so attached to you back in the Doldia village, Rudius? That's right. I just remembered. What were the words in the beast god tongue again? I cleared my throat and said, Are you perhaps the sacred beast from Dodoldia? Woof! The great dog bobbed its head in response before licking my face. Ah, it stinks! Damn it! What does this thing take me for? A piece of meat? At least I finally knew exactly what I had summoned. I see. The sacred beast, huh? The same one the Doldia tribe treasured so much that they locked it away deep in their village. Crap. If they found out that I summoned it to serve as my personal guardian, they would be absolutely livid, wouldn't they? If they put me on their wanted list, it would only cause more problems. I already had enough on my plate. Guess I gotta exchange this one too. Although annulling the contract would cause more trouble for either Perugius or Orsted. There was no guarantee I'd get anything better on the third try. I spoke in beast god tongue. Oh, sacred beast, if I might humbly ask, do you possess the power to protect my family from any calamity that might befall them? Woof! He seemed to be saying, leave everything to me. He seemed motivated enough, but on the other hand, I had gotten him kidnapped before. Could I really rely on him to protect them? Orsted assured me that the man god probably wouldn't come after my family much anymore, so maybe I didn't have anything to worry about, but Arf! As I was lost in thought, the sacred beast leaped from the summoning table and pressed its body against me, licking at my face. Oh, he's so soft. They definitely have to be using some kind of conditioner on him. And if he's our guardian beast, that means I'll be able to enjoy this fluffy fur every single day. Yep, I've got to be mistaken. This definitely isn't the sacred beast. It's 100% the sacred beast. And there we go. Yep, that's him. Nope. This was not the holy creature of the beast folk. This was not the holy creature the beast folk looked up to with such reverence. Definitely not. There was no way their protector god would show up here of all places. Had to be a lookalike. That's right. This thing's a lion. That's it. It was clearly a lion cub. I had called here from one of the infinite number of alternate worlds. At least that was the explanation I decided upon in my mind. It was good enough for me, although that excuse probably wouldn't hold water when it came to protecting me from the wrath of the Doldia. Well, if things started going sideways, I could always ask Lord Perugius for a favor and swap this lion cub for something else. Until then, we'd have a trial period of sorts. All right, from today forth, your name is Leo, I proclaimed, thrusting my hand into the air. The sacred beast promptly licked my fingers before snorting in response. Then, suddenly, he lifted his head as if he had noticed something. His gaze turned toward Roxy. Leo trotted over to her before promptly shoving his face up her skirt. Ah! Hey! What are you doing? Roxy cried, bonking him with her staff. Our perverted canine merely sniffed and licked at her leg before wrapping his enormous body around her. Rudy, what am I supposed to do about this? Nervously, she peered over at me. I had no idea what was going on exactly, but it was clear that our new family member was attached to Roxy. Leo, now that I've summoned you here, you're my servant, I said in beast god tongue. Your duty is to protect my family, understood? Woof! He barked back cheerfully. I had no idea how useful a pup would be for watching over everyone, but since this was what I had summoned, it was going to be our guardian beast henceforth. Surely he'll prove his worth. Leo, allow me to explain a bit about what your employment here entails. I know you're used to getting your way and having people spoil you, but that won't fly here. You're going to have to wear a collar and live in a doghouse like a normal canine. If anyone suspicious appears, you bark at them, bite them, and render them powerless. If they're too strong, you have my permission to kill them. You'll have 3 meals a day here, and you're free to take naps whenever you want. If you so desire, we'll even take you for walks when you want. If you find these conditions acceptable, please bark once. Woof! Great, that's the kind of answer I like to hear. And one more thing. It goes without saying that if you dare do anything to hurt my family... Woof! His throat rumbled, as if he were offended by the mere idea. Okay, yeah. Great. Then our contract is sealed. Now let's shake on it. I held out my hand, and he promptly offered up his paw. With that, our family had a new pet. Chapter 2, bitches. Okay, let's see. 1... Wow, 18 pages for the next chapter. Jesus. All right, so that's chapter 2. Lots of face palms going on there. He was fluffing it. Fluffing. All right. So, a tentacle monster would have been so funny. No, it wouldn't. Rudius can't read the circles. That's also true. Puppy! Best boy. Yes, they summoned Ranga. I want that.
Sounds like someone could benefit from some of Nyanta's nibbles.
Bjorn Alphason, thank you so much for the follow. Can we get some Nyantas in the chat? A boar. Rudy's ex summoned Rudy's ex. Which one would be Rudy's ex? They're all technically here, and they're now married to him, so... Oh, Sarah? Well, they were never technically dating. I don't know if I would consider that. Okay. The strongest animal in the world. A very good boy. The best boy. Such a good boy. The fluffiest boy. Toby Pets? He's in another room, dude. I'm sorry, but your Toby is in another room. I can bring him in if you want to redeem some Toby Pets. Showing affection to... Lol. Can't wait to see that in the anime. Same. Thought it was a she. Yeah, exactly. They better include it. I want to see uncomfortable Roxy being cuddled by the Leo, the big silver dog. I love that. Leo, the big silver dog, instead of Clifford. Okay, I'll go get him. If you count pets, it's an ex-pet. I don't know. I don't think that Leo was ever his pet when they were in the Doldia tribe. All right, I'll go get Toby.
Congratulations on graduating from a Dave.
You are being
Though that is
summoned
basically
for
just
pets.
getting a participation trophy.
But, oh, wow. Rickalicious, thank you for the 5 months. Can we get some more Nyantas in the chat? I already beat you to it. Aha! Alright, so on top of Toby Pets, we get Toby Snacks. Right, Toby? Toby Snacks? You want some Toby Snacks? Come here. Come on up. Come on up. Come here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. You can do it. Come here. Come here. I'm going to help you up. Come here. Ready? And 2, 3, jump. Oh, there we go. Now hold still. I got to give you Toby Pets. Got to give you Toby Pets. Yes. The pets. The pets. Oh. Okay. Are you ready? Yeah. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Let me get that. Let me get that tail. That tail. Oh, yes. And there you go. Toby? Ready? Want more? You want more? Come here. Well, come here. Come here, Toby. Come here. Let me get that crust out of your eyes. There we go. Ready? Go eat it. Good boy. Puppy! Fenris. Puppy. Well, I mean, we just talked about puppies, so might as well bring the puppy in and let him eat. Mm-hmm. Can we get some bits for Toby? Want some Toby bits? Come on, guys. We can do it. Get some bits for the good boy. He's not bestest boy, but he's good boy. Well, it depends on who you ask. Case in point, Alexa, who is a good boy?
Toby is a good boy. He is the bestest boy in the whole land.
Leo, you made a mess on the rug. You are no longer a good boy. That's funny. Toby. You want snackos? You want snackos? Come here. You want snackos? Come here. There he is. There he is. Yes. See, Toby snacks. You don't have Toby bits. Hey, man, if somebody wants to spend bits for the Tobys. I should do that on the channel. Start making it where every time you donate 5 bits, we give Toby snacks. Toby gets a snack every time. You are gonna, but to be fair, maybe I should make it more than 5 bits because otherwise, y'all are gonna make our dog fat. It's just bits. They're not Toby bits, but we're calling them Toby bits. Just regular ass bits. That's because it's bits, not channel points. There's a difference. Yeah, that could go unhealthy. Maybe like 100 bits. Every dollar, Toby gets a treat. Buddy, I could put a sad picture of Toby up. Now you see where you went wrong? Toby. So like 100 bits or like $1. So if you want to feed the Toby, it's like X amount of bits. Come on up. Come on. Come on. There's a good boy. Make you reach for it, make you jump. Come on. See, if I make him jump, then he... There we go. Toby. You want a snacko? There you go. Oh, look at that. Look at that. 95 bits is $2. Really? Well, I thought 1 bit equaled a penny. Oh no. It hit his teeth and bounced right back out. We all have our dumbass moments. Come on. Why you gotta use me? He puts one paw up on me. Doesn't stop it from being funny. Alright. Okay, Toby, are you ready? Go get it. You missed it. He missed it. There's another 100 bits. That's what I'm talking about. Get the puppers. 100 Franker Z. That's what I'm talking about. Toby. Toby, it's food. It's money for snacks. That's what it is. Come here. Come here. Ready? Ready? And up. Aw, Toby. No, don't lie down. Come here. Come here. Come here. You have to come get it. Ready? Good boy. Good boy. You got one more. Ready? Come on. Come get it. Come on. Toby. Come on. Come on. No, you can't use me. Come on. Come on. Come on. There you go. Good boy. Good boy. All right. You want a handful? You want a handful? I'll give you a handful. Okay. Ready? Let me get two. You can have all the rest. There you go. Holy cow. That's... There's all me bits. Feel free to laugh at me anytime I pull a dummy move. Alright. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for all the bits. Just remember, bits are always going to be used for feeding Toby. So if you would like to summon the Toby for Toby Pets and Toby Bits, make sure to do stuff. Toby Pets will summon the Fluff Lord. What are you doing? Come here. Come here. Come on. You ready? Ready? And jump. Oh, there we go. So Toby Pets will summon the Fluff Lord. Yes. How is it? How is it? Oh, belly rubs, chest rubs. Yes. So Toby Pets will summon the Toby Lord, and then, oh yes, cheek scritches. Well, he likes cheek scritches. Yes, he does. And then Bits will feed the Toby. So, isn't that a face that you just want to throw treats and stuff at? You know what? Since you guys threw so many bits up there, I'm going to go get him a real treat. Hang on. No, go ahead. Keep eating. Stay. Get fat. That's what you do. I'll make you walk it off later. You haven't eaten your squares. Eat your little cheese squares, buddy. Come on, you gotta eat your cheese squares. I gave him 3 Ritz crackers yesterday. He didn't eat any of them. Which is sad because I know he loves Ritz crackers. He loves Ritz crackers. Alright. So for this one...
Congratulations on graduating from a day.
Oh, wow. Oh!
So that is basically
Cass,
just getting a participation
thank you for the
trophy.
6 months. From where you were kneeling, it must seem like an 18-karat run of bad luck. The truth is, the game was rigged from the start. Okay. I don't know what that means. I don't know what you mean by that. But thank you for the 6 months. Can we get some nyantas in the chat? So we're gonna give him an actual meaty treaty. A little bit of meaty treaty. Yes. Now, It is also Toby feeding time, so can we get some Franker Z's in the chat? The game, it was rigged from the start. So, really quickly, I want to see some doggos in the chat, and as soon as I see some doggos in the chat, doggo will get treat. But not until. You have to wait, Toby. We all have to wait for Franker Z. I thought Franker Z was like a non-bit related. Wait, do you have to pay to use Franker Z? Because if so, then that's just BS. I've already seen one Franker Z in chat. You have to pay for Franker Z? Toby, stay there. Stay there. We have to. There's some doggo. Oh no, Toby, what did you do? It was in chat and you got so excited you knocked it over. Where's it at? What'd you do with it? What'd you do with it, Toby? Where'd it go? Oh, did you find it? Excuse you. Did you find it? Yeah? There we go. Guys, don't forget, Rick, there is no voice redeeming, so I'm going to go through. I'm not doing voices for this one. I don't do voices on Mushoku Tensei, so going to refund your points right there. Yeah, I don't do voices on Mushoku Tensei. Alright, there were 2 doggos released. Come on, you messed up your jump. There you go. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Yes. There, have your treats. Go eat your treaty treats. Good, good. Alright, gang. While you feed the doggo. No! I'm not doing Gilbert Gottfried while I'm feeding the doggo. That's not happening. Alright, guys. So, we've got 18 pages. No. Go eat. Eat your crackers. Eat your crackers. Eat your crackers. Your crack-a-lacking crackers. Alright, so 18 pages to go. We have Chapter 3, Opening Move. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me know what you think of this chapter while you're doing that. And of course, this is the final chapter we're reading today. So if you want to get those exercises done and redeemed, do them now. That having been said, Chapter 3, Opening Move. 2 days had passed since I summoned our guardian beast. I had his name engraved in a leather collar, which we looped around his neck, and we built a rather large doghouse for him. His job was essentially to be our security guard. When I woke up in the morning, he'd be waiting at the front entrance as Eris and I came out to train in the yard. He would continue to stand at the entrance like a sentry until it was time for a walk. Once we returned home, he would come into the house and watch over everyone. Leo periodically made rounds of the house to ensure nothing was amiss. If it was, he did his utmost to remedy it. If Lucy were crying, he would comfort her. If Aisha went out shopping, he would accompany her. When asked, he would even walk with Norn to school. It really was as though we had our own home security system. Leo was incredibly intelligent. He did whatever my family told him and was perfectly toilet trained. As for tricks, he knew wait, down, paw, and beg, and even more complicated things such as spinning 3 times and barking, plus somersaulting like a cat. He was also really submissive toward my family. When Aisha or Norn nervously reached up to pet him, he would wag his tail so hard it was like a helicopter rotor. He was particularly fond of Roxy and acted like a loyal knight around her. His attitude toward her was markedly different from his interactions with everyone else. When Roxy woke up, he would circle around her while wagging his tail and trying to shove his head between her legs. The first time he did that, I scolded him, saying, "I'm the only one who gets to lick her there." He acted dejected and gave up, but the very next day he was back at it. God damn it. Only Rudy could, like, fucking say something to a dog in a perverted way that makes you want to just smack your head. Roxy normally commuted to work on Dillo's back, but I noticed Leo barking at him, as if trying to tell him something. I had no way of deciphering his words or knowing if Dillo was heeding them, but the armadillo seemed to flinch nervously away from Leo. I also spotted Leo hovering at the bottom of the stairs when Roxy climbed them, staring up at her as if worried she might slip and fall. His overprotectiveness almost made me feel like a pathetic husband for not fussing over her as much. I wondered why he was so focused on Roxy and Roxy alone, but maybe it was because he was a dog. Perhaps he could sniff out which of our family members was the most impressive. Nope, that's not it at all. Come to think of it, Linny and Persenna seem to have the same ability. Despite acting as the perfect servant with Roxy, Leo and Eris weren't the most compatible, or rather, Leo seemed put off by Eris. She, on the other hand, absolutely adored animals. She loved nothing more than burying her face in their soft fur and giving them a squeeze. Perhaps she had concerned him and done just that without me knowing. The Mad Sword King's power was no joke. I had experienced it myself. When she embraced someone with all her strength, it was like being crushed to death by a bear. Your life flashed before your eyes. I didn't mind her hugging me like that, but I could understand why Leo might keep a wide berth. He only approached her when it was time to go for a walk, whereupon the two of them would check the house's perimeter before setting off. I had a feeling this had to do with her stamina. A walk for him wasn't a stroll around the block. I suspected he was circling the entire city on his little outings. To accomplish that so quickly required impressive speed, and the only person in our household who could match such a pace was Eris. Sylphie might be able to keep up if she tried, but just barely. In any case, Leo typically chose Eris as his partner when going for walks. Maybe he considered her a fellow security guard. Incidentally, Leo's territory encompassed a 2-kilometer radius around our house. He wouldn't let so much as a stray cat into his territory. From the look of things, he was making good on his mission to protect our family. This whole guardian beast business had given me more peace of mind than I expected. A dog was definitely a good pick. The only issue was that said dog also happened to be the protector god of the beast folk tribe. When Ghislaine came over to check on Eris, she was gobsmacked to find Leo here. I can't understand him when he speaks, she said, but it seems to me that he came here of his own volition, in which case the Doldia tribe should have no complaints. So I should be fine. It was time for me to move on to the next step of the plan, and just in time, Luke showed up at our house. I had gone out on a short errand that only took about 20 minutes. When I got home, Luke was standing at our front gate. I immediately hid in the shadows to keep an eye on him, remembering what Orsted had told me about the man-god being able to manipulate people. I also recalled the entry in my diary which mentioned Luke being used by the man-god to bring Sylphie down. My future self was admittedly a bit paranoid, so his word might not be the most reliable, but if the man-god did want to take down Sylphie or Ariel, Luke would prove an effective puppet. Sylphie did rely on him, after all, regardless of what she said about him. In other words, Luke had the highest probability of being chosen as one of the man-god's apostles. If we were going to war with him, it would be paramount to locate his followers and suss out their motives. With that in mind, I kept a close eye on him as I darted from shadow to shadow until I was close enough to hear his voice. I never knew someone as amazing as you had come to this city. You're wonderful, adorable. Your eyes are so beautiful and full of determination, and your hair is soft as silk. You're like an angel, no, like a goddess of beauty come to grace this world with your presence. It took but a single glance for my heart to be stolen. His words made my head ache. What a bunch of overused cliches. But I would never say something so sappy and exaggerated. But maybe such things were perfectly normal in this world. If I said something like that to Sylphie, she'd probably go red as a tomato. I could just imagine her smiling shyly and saying, "You don't need to work that hard to butter me up. I'm already yours, Rudy." "Oh, pardon my manners," Luke said. "I haven't even introduced myself. I am Luke Notos Greyrat and the second son of my household. The Notos Greyrats preside over one of the 4 major regions of Osira Kingdom." If he really was one of the man god's flunkies, it made sense that he'd lay it on thick when flirting with a girl, especially if it was at the man god's command. It would be weird for him to go through such lengths if not. Luke had no shortage of women flocking to him. Based on what Sylphie had told me, he saw girls as little more than disposable sex toys. More importantly, who in the heck was he trying to talk up right now? I couldn't get a good look from where I was hiding. If he was likening this his target to an angel, the first person that came to my mind was Sylphie. But he wouldn't dare talk to her like that. The word goddess immediately brought Roxy to mind, since that was precisely what she was to me, but it couldn't be her either. So then, Aisha maybe? No, there was more... No, she was more like a little devil than an angel. "If I might be so bold, would you honor me with your name? Of course, I understand if you don't wish to tell me your last name, but I beseech you, oh beautiful one, to at least share your first name as consolation, that I might engrave it into my heart." At least I'd be able to hear the name of the target of his affection soon. Who was he trying to win over? Once I knew the answer, I could figure out who the man god was aiming for. Once again, did you not just fucking have this conversation with Orsted like a couple days ago? What the hell, bro? How are you this dumb? Of course, this assumed that Luke really was one of the man god's apostles. I couldn't discount the possibility that he'd just fallen in love with one of my family members at first sight. Although if it's the latter, I'm a little better than a peeping Tom. "Ah, I see, you refuse to share your name with me. Then at the very least, I beg of you to give me the honor of kissing your hand. That alone will be enough to console me." He bent forward, stretching a hand toward the other person. His head jerked momentarily, then his entire body froze. What happened? Clearly something was up. Had the man god attacked him, or was he being controlled right this very moment? As I contemplated such questions, Luke suddenly sank to his knees and collapsed. He didn't even twitch. He'd completely lost consciousness. What on earth had happened? Wait, I'm pretty sure I've witnessed this before. The jerking, the collapsing, the losing of consciousness. Oh god, it makes my head pound. After Luke slumped over, a woman stepped out of our gate and stared down at him. She slammed her foot into his unconscious head. Eris. Eris is the one who knocked him out. What's your problem? Appearing out of nowhere and babbling like a lunatic? She wrinkled her nose, kicking him again to shove him off the walkway. Then she marched back into the house as if nothing had happened. Idiot. I slipped from the shadows and went over to Luke. He was still out cold, the whites of his eyes showing. She'd KO'd him real good. I had to question his morals for daring to hit on one of my wives, but come to think of it, though, I hadn't reported to Ariel and Luke that I made it home. I hadn't yet told them about my marriage. In fact, this was his first time meeting Eris. Still, I was shocked he'd tried to make a pass at her like that. Maybe the original timeline where the two of them got together had some influence over him. Or perhaps it was proof that he really was in league with the man god. It was difficult to be sure either way. I pursed my lips. For the moment at least, it was best not to leave him lying outside. I decided to drag him into the house with me. I could begin the interrogation once I regained consciousness. "I'm home," I said as I hauled Luke inside. Eris was there to greet me, though she was silent at first. Her face lit up when she saw me, but the moment she spotted Luke, she knitted her brows and crossed her arms. "You know this guy?" she asked. "Well, yeah, I guess you could say he's Sylphie's colleague, to be more precise." Oh, well, sorry I punched him." "Oh," she's being awfully meek. I shook my head. "It's fine. I bet it was his own fault for saying something inappropriate." "It was," she agreed. "Well then, he has only himself to blame. He got his just desserts for trying to lay his grimy hands on my heiress. All the same, I was going to lay him down somewhere he could rest. He'd be in the way if I put him in the living room. Maybe I should just throw him in one of the empty rooms on the first floor. Hey, Rudius, Eris called after me. Yes? Do you also want to kiss my hand? I glanced at her hand. It was covered in calluses from her training, rather rough and rugged for a woman's hands. Still, it suited her, and I liked her hands just the way they were. I'd rather kiss your lips than your hand. That earned me a swift punch to the gut. She didn't pack much power behind it, but her aim was so accurate that she caught me right in the liver. That's off limits until night, Eris huffed, her face going bright red as she stomped toward the living room. Okay, so I'm free to claim them at night then. Looking forward to it. That aside, what should I do now? Personally, I wanted to consult Sylphie quickly so I could convey my wish to aid Ariel. That way, the lot of us could work together to persuade Perugius to join her side. Alas, I had no idea what had motivated Luke to travel here. If he'd come to cause problems on behalf of the man god, I certainly wouldn't let that fly. I guess I'll wait till Luke wakes up. While Luke remained unconscious, I went to check on Sylphie and the others. I would be heartbroken if something awful were to happen to the rest of my family members while I was preoccupied with Luke. No, that was probably unlikely, given that Eris was here. Leo was at the top of the stairwell on the second floor, sitting obediently with an alert expression. I passed him and checked several of the rooms. Roxy's room was littered with clothes, but otherwise unoccupied. Considering Dillo was absent as well, it was probably safe to bet she'd already left for the academy. Sylphie and Aisha were cooking in the kitchen. I beat a hasty retreat, not wanting to interrupt them. I found Zenith tucked in her bed asleep, while Lilia reading a book at her side. Nothing amiss here. I found Eris playing with Lucy in the living room. Lucy had grabbed Eris's hands and climbed on top of the sofa, while Eris nervously supported her and looked on. It was a heartwarming sight, but I could only savor it for a few moments. I then returned to the empty room where I'd left Luke. He had already regained consciousness by the time I got back. I had a dream about a red-haired angel. She was beautiful and sweet, but she was also so strong, my ideal woman. But when I tried to kiss her hand, I woke up. He was sitting up, his eyes vacant as he mumbled incomprehensibly to himself. He's probably got some brain damage from Eris's punch. Wait, that can't be it. He was saying that angel crap before she smacked him. Please calm down, Master Luke. There's no red-haired angel. Oh, it's you, Rudius. He glanced at me absently. Wait, what are you doing here? Huh? Where? I'm in your house? Just a moment ago, I was at the front gate, and this angel... What's going on? His memories were all muddled. At least it didn't seem like he'd met the man-god during his brief lapse of consciousness. Ah! Luke glanced behind me and screamed. I looked back, and Eris was there. She'd shoved the door open and was staring in. She took one glance at Luke, huffed, and marched back toward the living room. Apparently, she had been at least a little worried about him. My fragile maiden's heart was pounding with worry. Don't tell me she's already started developing some feelings for him. That can't be right. Ah, wait! Your name! Please, at least give me your name. If you could also give me your address and tell me your favorite flower, I would be forever grateful. Oh, and I'd be delighted if you could tell me what kind of man you like. Please calm yourself. I said this is her address. She lives here. I managed to restrain Luke from following her out the door, but he grabbed me by the shoulders and brought me to his face. Rudius, if she lives here, then you must mean you're related, right? Tell me, who is she? Her name is Eris Greyrat. The two of us just got married. What? You married? So that means she's your woman? Yes, that's what it means. Given our relationship dynamic, it was probably more apt to say I was her man, but the meaning was the same. Oh, his voice trailed off. Instinctively, I said, I'm sorry. Luke shook his head. Why would you apologize? The early bird gets the worm, as they say. I suppose that's true. After hearing about this alternate timeline from Orsted, I couldn't help but feel guilty. Luke and Eris were originally supposed to be a pair. The situation felt like receiving a package only to find out it had your neighbor's address on it. Even so, that didn't change our past together. I was the one who'd been her tutor and traveled to the demon continent with her. We'd shared our first sexual experience together. Luke sighed. It's not all that rare for good women to fall for a single man, or for good men to fall for a single woman. For whatever reason, he kept going. Men often keep a number of women for themselves, but the opposite is practically unheard of. That was merely the way God made us humans, after all. After all, a man can give their seed to multiple women, but a woman can only have one man's child at a time. It does seem there are demon women who can have multiple men's babies at once, but the same cannot be said for our race. He was sure coming at this from a biased male perspective. Of course, I was one to talk, but not to defend myself here, I also thought it was perfectly reasonable for it to go both ways. You know, one woman and multiple men, a reverse harem. Good women tend to gather around the man who holds the most power, Luke went on. You have power, money, status, and prestige. I can understand why that angel, Miss Eris, chose to be with you. So he paused and shook his head. No, that's not it. I didn't come all the way here to have this conversation with you. Luke let out another large sigh. I came here because I have something to ask you. Oh? I took a seat. The timing was far too convenient. It was reasonable to think he was the man-god's lackey, trying to change the course of history. I couldn't shake that suspicion, but I would hear him out either way. I assumed he would try to find some way to lead me toward my own destruction, or otherwise try to impede Ariel's ascension to the throne. Would you lend Princess Ariel your aid? I couldn't believe my ears. The heck is going on? He's asking for my aid? Shouldn't he be asking for the opposite? No. I had to make it perfectly clear that I would assist her if needed. He wasn't approaching me with such a request out of the blue. Of course. I would be more than happy to, but why are you asking this when you've already said I would, when I've already said I would help? Your skills with magic and ability to befriend people with difficult personalities is astounding. On top of that, you demonstrated your fighting capabilities by returning home alive from a battle with the dragon god. He even took you on as his subordinate. Truly, such feats are impressive beyond words. Okay, it makes me a little uneasy when you go out of your way to compliment me like that. However, we feared involving you would disrupt Sylphie's happiness. Luke lifted his head. That is why we never explicitly requested your assistance up until now. We couldn't. Neither Princess Ariel nor I wish to involve Sylphie in this power struggle any more than we already have. He'd said as much earlier when the two of us dueled, but Luke dropped his gaze. He was good-looking enough that such a pose made him look more like a tortured hero. No wonder most women fell for him so easily. In the past 6 years, we've exerted our influence with the magic nations to enlist a number of nobles and craftspeople to our side. Among them are some nobles who were born in Osira, and even some with a great deal of political sway. But it hasn't been enough to ensure us a decisive victory. After all, these people are still outsiders in the kingdom's eyes. I said. However, Lord Perugius could turn the tides for us. He has enormous sway in the kingdom, in addition to his force of charisma and impressive martial power. If we had him at our side, it would greatly further Princess Ariel's path to the throne. It doesn't guarantee victory, of course, but at the same time, I don't think we can succeed without his aid. Princess Ariel needs someone of impressive repute to back her. Luke was being entirely serious, or at least I didn't detect any deception or ulterior motives. He sincerely believed Perugius was necessary for Ariel to claim kingship. Orsted likewise had a high opinion of Perugius. He shook his head, adding, "But despite that, Her Highness has nearly given up on trying to persuade him to join us." Well, given how it's been going, I can't really blame her, I said. When I last saw them both, Perugius had about as much interest in her as he had in the ground he walked on, which was to say, none. Of course. Meeting him was pure chance to begin with, said Luke. Princess Ariel says we'll make do without him. I agreed with her. If we spend a couple more years strengthening our weaknesses, We'll probably be able to claim victory over her opponents. Those were intriguing words. According to Orsted, there were little more than 20 days left before the news hit that the kingdom's ruler had fallen ill. If Luke had been in contact with the man-god, he wouldn't be speaking as if they had several years to go, considering the latter would have alerted him of what was to come. Realistically, though, it would be difficult. Without Lord Perugius' aid, we would suffer great losses, even if we did win, and other issues might crop up after she secured the crown. Based on what he was saying, Ariel was attempting to trigger international conflict in the kingdom. Or internal conflict. She needed to take the lead in this power struggle, outwitting her opponents and beating them at their own game so she could be the last one standing. She was aiming for the ultimate position of power in the most powerful country in the world. That throne could not be claimed on words alone. They would need to fight for it. But the fighting would continue even after the goal was achieved. If there was still resistance in her rule, if there were still those who claimed she wasn't worthy, Ariel could lose everything after having expended all her political capital on becoming king. Perugius, however, could act as a deterrent to such opposition. As one of the 3 heroes who killed the demon god, he still held sway in the kingdom. Not every noble would bend the knee with him present, but it would certainly shut a lot of them up if the armored dragon king Perugius announced his support for Ariel's rule. Thus Luke was desperate to have his backing. And, in order to make absolutely certain we can achieve victory, I would like your assistance, said Luke. You do realize I don't know a thing about politics, right? It's perfectly possible I'll be of no help whatsoever. You're a far greater person than you seem to realize. You'll be plenty helpful simply by being yourself. I scratched my head. I'm not that great. Great or not, you're a reliable fighter, and you have connections. You're acquainted with Lord Perugius, the dragon god, a demon king, the grandson of the Millis Pope, the entire Doldia tribe, and Silent Seven Star. Your contacts alone are impressive, and we're not even asking you to use those contacts. It's the fact that you're so well connected that proves you possess something special. I wish only that you might share a bit of that with Princess Ariel. I kept silent. Perhaps I'd suspected an ulterior motive behind Luke's compliments because I hadn't spoken with him much. Still, I wondered, was he really the man-god's puppet or not? Orsted had already ordered me to assist Ariel, so I would have helped whether or not Luke requested it. However, the fact that he beat me to the punch made me question if he was doing it of his own volition. Maybe I should try some trick questions and see what he says. Who ordered you to come see me? I asked. Ordered me? If you mean Her Highness, she made no such request. Which means someone else advised you to come to me? Luke shook his head. I decided to come here on my own. Does the name Man-God ring any bells? Man-God? I remember hearing that name when we were visiting Lord Perugius. Who exactly is that? Well, if he was in league with the Man-God, he wouldn't show his hand that easily. The Man-God never told me to keep our association hush-hush, but there was nothing to say he wouldn't forbid anyone else from speaking about it. Luke eyed me, baffled by my question, but after a few moments he scratched the back of his head and said, I guess it does sound as if I'm contradicting myself. We do wish for Sylphie's happiness, and it is possible we might rob her of that by involving her in our conflict with the kingdom. If they label us as insurgents, even the magic nations won't be able to shield us. That part scared me as well. There was no telling what might happen if we made an enemy of Asura. According to my journal from the future, Sylphie had died as a result, and the Holy Kingdom of Millis had managed to kill Zenoba. Sure, I could fight decently enough. If I unleashed my magic at its maximum potential, I could even wipe out an enormous number of enemies.
Could benefit from some of Nyanta's nibbles.
I don't know how to pronounce that, but thank you for the follow. Can we get some Nyantas in the chat, please? All right. I could even wipe out an enormous number of enemies at once. I would even be fearsome in close combat once we had my magic armor repaired. Orsted had admitted he couldn't hold back when facing me in that armor. That being said, it was Naive to expect to win every battle you fought head on. Not even an idiot would fight a pro wrestler barehanded. To defeat someone like that, you might stab them in the back, poison them, or use money to pressure them into submission. If you couldn't beat someone with power alone, you just had to use some other means. My future self had fortified his defenses by forging a strong relationship with the kingdom of Asura. Enough that they didn't come after him, at least. Better yet, they even valued him enough to refuse the Holy Kingdom's requests to hand him over. How would things go this time? With Leo in our house, would the other countries hold back, not wanting to strain their relationship with the Beast Tribe? How good of a protector would he prove to be? Orsted had assured me that I would be fine as long as I had my guardian beast. According to him, Leo would be perfectly capable of keeping my family safe, since he had his own strong destiny. But can that little pup really guard my family all by himself? However, said Luke, since you have the dragon god backing you, I think it won't taint all of Sylphie's joy if we get her involved now. I wasn't so sure about that. There were places where Orsted's influence had no power. The people of this world might have heard of the 7 great powers, but they didn't seem to realize how strong they were, or how far beyond human their abilities were. Having the dragon god's support doesn't mean my life wouldn't be at risk, I said. That's true, Luke admitted. He sucked in a breath and stared directly into my eyes. But that's precisely why we only need your support on the surface right now. I want to make Princess Ariel king, no matter what it takes. He glared at me, eyes gleaming. I met his gaze without flinching, surprised at how strong it was. His determination reminded me of Richard's, as if he was willing to throw everything away to accomplish his goal. And what is that? I asked. After a long pause, Luke answered. It was the last request of a deceased friend. I immediately knew he was referring to Derek Redbat. Please, won't you lend Princess Ariel your strength? I assumed that he wasn't promising me anything in return because he'd come of his own accord rather than at Ariel's behest. Rather than offering a deal, he was asking for a favor. I stroked my chin. In hindsight, I was still myself even when the man-god was pulling the strings. He did give me advice, but I was the only one desperately racking my brains to interpret his words and figure out how best to proceed. Perhaps the same was true of Luke. Maybe he was trying his best to search for a way forward. If that was the case, I wanted to help him. There was just one problem. My opponent was neither Ariel nor the Asura kingdom. It was the man-god. If there was any possibility that aligning myself with Ariel had something to do with the man-god's plan, I needed to consult Orsted first. Would you permit me to seek the counsel of those around me before I give you an answer? I asked. Luke smiled, despite looking like he wanted to cry. Apparently, he thought this was my way of turning him down. He got to his feet, and after a long pause, he said, All right. Sorry to bother you. Not at all. I will give you my official answer in a couple of days, I promise. His shoulders slumped as he shuffled out of the room. I followed him, intending to see him out. We made our way through the hall and toward the front door. Leo was standing at the top of the stairwell, as he had been earlier. Peering down at us, he let out a low growl, as if to let Luke know he wouldn't let him pass to the second floor. Does this mean Luke really is suspicious? Though I have no idea if Leo can sniff out the man-god's puppets with his nose alone. Oh! Eris peeked out of the living room, having heard the growl. Luke immediately put a hand to his chest and bowed. Missus, I realize I was ignorant of your identity before, but I still apologize for my rude behavior. I do hope we will meet again someday. Eris reached down to grab her skirt for a curtsy, only to belatedly realize she was wearing pants. She scowled, feeling awkward, and crossed her arms over her chest. I'll be sure to entertain you properly next time. I appreciate you saying that. Well, if you'll excuse me. Before he had a chance to leave, someone yawned from above us. Eris, please don't shout like that. Everyone is still sleeping, Sylphie said as she made her way down the stairs. She must have gone up there after I checked on her earlier in the kitchen. Her eyes were still heavy with sleep, apparently. She'd gone back to bed. With her when her gaze landed on Luke and me, she said, "Oh, welcome back, Rudy." Luke, you're here? How come? Did something happen to Her Highness? I had an errand to run and decided to swing by. Huh. Well, take your time. I can get you some tea, Sylphie offered. No, I should be leaving. All right, well, I'll be heading back in a few, so take care of the princess for me until then. Will do. Luke smiled forlornly as he left. Sylphie and I followed him to the gate and saw him off. His receding figure reminded me of a lonely salaryman completely exhausted as he made his way home from work. What's going on with him? Sylphie wondered. I didn't respond, but I couldn't help feeling like something had been set into motion. No matter how I decided to act on this, I couldn't do a half-assed job. With that in mind, it was time to report to Orsted. That's chapter 3, guys. It's done! Yeah! What'd you guys think about this? YouTube, let me know down in the comments what you thought of all of these chapters. I'm really curious to hear your opinion if you're checking this out on YouTube. For those of you that are here that do not know, we have a YouTube channel specifically, for the light novels called Fat Dog Light Novels. You can check that out over on YouTube. These will go up shortly. I trimmed the intro music part out and I cut out the exercises and everything at the end. But for those of you who are here, who are watching on YouTube, I'm really interested in what you have to say. Definitely curious about your thoughts, especially with this last chapter of all the intrigue with Luke. Where do you think this is going, and what your thoughts on this were? But yeah, that's going to be it for YouTube. Thank you guys so much for coming by and hanging out. The last of this is going to be Twitch only, so if you would like to come by and check out the streams live, I do these readings every Saturday at 4 p.m. right here on this Twitch channel. The link is down in the description if you want to check it out. That having been said, thank you so much for coming and checking it out. If you like this content, please give it a thumbs up. If you really like it, consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon so you know when new videos have come up. I don't have a regular schedule, but at least once a week, a new episode of Slime and Mushoku Tensei will be released publicly. Yeah, that's kind of how it is. If you like the Fat Dog content, I should probably intro with this because it's like, who the fuck is this guy? Hi, I'm Richie Roberts. I am the writer and director for Slime Abridged. I am also the writer for Log Horizon Abridged, as well as the assistant director. I voice the Menu and also Great Sage, as well as a smattering of other characters in Fat Dog. If you've heard somebody die in a Fat Dog project, or just screaming incoherently in the background about how terrible their final death moments are, odds are that was me. I am like the Sean Bean with Fat Dog. That's who I am. Those are my credentials. If you like the content that I put out over on Fat Dog, consider subscribing to that and maybe going and checking out our Patreon for just $1 a month. That is the lowest tier that we have. But if you really like it, you can put more into it if you can afford it, or if you think we're worthy of that. But we really, really appreciate it. And every little bit helps us to actually boost the channel up and make better episodes. So really, really could help it. Could use your help. The reason Slime 9 is going so slowly is because we have to space out some recordings that are paid recordings. We don't make enough money off of Patreon right now to just be able to pay everybody in one go. So we're going to have to do it month to month on some of these. And that's just crazy. But it is what it is. So Slime could get delayed by half a year just for the ending because we have to pay people for their work on the closing credits, because this is going to be the end of season 1 of Slime. So yes, very much could use help with Patreon. Every little bit of money helps to bring Slime out a little bit faster. I think I'm going to do a video on this pretty soon on the main Fat Dog channel. So That having been said, thank you guys so much. Really, really appreciate it. And we will see you all next time. Bye-bye to everyone on YouTube.